After going through the combine and getting drafted by the Tennessee Titans, the start to our career kicked off, and it's been a roller coaster ever since. With a ton of mistakes and a ton of victories, it's now time for the second half of the season, and we are 4-3. So here we go as we try to make a push to the playoffs. We are kicking it off against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football to try to make this push, and the game opened with us sitting on the sideline and having the Steelers put up the first score of the game. When it was finally our turn, we missed a wide open receiver on third down that would have resulted in a huge gain, and Joey Porter Jr. stood there celebrating. After our defense was able to force a punt, Derrick Henry was able to convert a third down this time as we hit him on a screen, and then a nice out route by Kyle Phillips helped us cross the midfield mark, but as we tried to drop one over the defense, it was picked off, ending the drive. With the Steelers scoring another touchdown, we had to do something, scrambling out to the right side, taking the ball up to midfield again, but that drive ended quickly as Petit Free was getting bullied by TJ Watt and sacked us for the second time this game. The second half opened with Okonkwo making a great catch across the middle to get us up to the midfield mark for the third time in this game, but as we tried to slide down after a good scramble, we fumbled, turning the ball over once again and failing to do anything. After our defense made a good stop, it was another pass to Okonkwo to put us inside of the red zone, and hoping the fourth time's a charm, we tried to go to Kyle Phillips on fourth down, but he wasn't able to get in. Treylon Burks was finally able to get us into the end zone with 9 minutes left in the fourth, but the game was a failure for our offense, and we had to watch as Minkah Fitzpatrick ran by us to end our primetime debut. Now past the midseason mark and a loss to the Steelers, we were 4-4, one game back of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we were playing the Bucs, and for once the other team made the first mistake as Baker Mayfield threw an interception and gave us the opportunity to put points up on the board first, but our offense got stagnant and the field goal was missed. Coming back out though, we were able to hit Okonkwo and then Treylon Burks to put us inside of the red zone, letting Derrick Henry run it in for the early 7-point lead. But from there, our next two drives showed our weakness as our offensive line crumbled, resulting in 2 drive-ending sacks. On the next drive, it was Levante David getting another sack, but it was a good pass to Okonkwo that put us on the goal line, but he was injured on the play and we couldn't punch it in. And the injuries kept piling up as Peter Skorinski got injured on a screen pass to Henry and his backup got bullied. With everything going sideways, our defense stepped up and held Baker Mayfield, and we opened up the fourth quarter with a read option pull on a third down that we took all the way to the house to extend the lead to 8. And with the game on the line, we were able to roll out and hit Okonkwo, who came back into the game just to make this one catch and allowing Henry to get into the end zone and play the saddest violin for the Bucs as we went into their house and walked away with the win. We are now on to the biggest game of the year. Tied once again for top of the AFC South, we're facing Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. With everything facing our team, Okonkwo has been a star in the making for us and is the #1 tight end in the league. But to kick off the game on the first play, he also went down with an injury. So with him and Hopkins out, it was Treylon Burks who was really going to have to step up for us. We drove down the field looking to score first and tried diving into the end zone, but came up a little bit short, so Derrick Henry was the one who finished it off to give us the 7-score lead. In the open field though, Henry was struggling to run the ball, so it was up to us to try to get the first down, but Trayvon Walker tripped us up, ending our drive. With nothing going on, it was a 2-minute drill that ended in disaster as we were rushed on a wide open throw and then hit as we threw that resulted in an interception. With the Jags adding a score, we tried to drive down the field once again before the second was over, and we were able to hit Henry on a wheel route, but as we got to the goal line, we tried to hit a zig route to Agnew, but we couldn't get it in and had to settle for a field goal. The second half started with a Jags touchdown, so we had to fight back in this game, and Henry's massive run down the sideline got it kicked off. But little did we know, from here it was all downhill as we took a bad sack to end the drive and then another to start the fourth. With the Jags putting together a 7-minute drive, it was too late for us to come back, and Josh Allen made sure of it as we fell to 5-5 on the season. It was now on to one of the quarterbacks drafted ahead of us, and we remember that. But the Carolina defense came to play as DJ Johnson got a massive sack, but we came back out and hit Jamal Agnew on a huge completion on 3rd and 20 to walk away with the early lead. But with the Panthers driving and the score being tied back up, the Titans secondary was exposed, and off our back foot, we connected with Treylon Burks to get us out to midfield. We extended the drive, scrambling out, gaining 14 yards to move us into scoring position, but with Derrick Henry having a terrible day, we thought the drive ended as the field goal was blocked. Thankfully, Bryce Young threw an interception and we got another shot to score, but we couldn't connect with Treylon Burks, but this time settling for 3 actually worked. But before I knew it, we were down 21-10 thanks to a long Panthers drive and a turnover on the ensuing kickoff. To make it even worse, Okonkwo got injured on our first drive out as we tried to go deep and test him versus Brian Burns, and we took a bad sack as we had no weapons. But with Jamal Agnew's speed, all we needed to do do was to run him deep, and that's what we did, connecting on this deep route down the sideline. But with Derrick Henry stopped on another 3rd and goal, Vrabel decided to walk out the field goal unit. But the Panthers took a long drive and put up another score, and this game was all but sealed as we threw an interception down the sideline, falling to 5-6 versus first overall pick Bryce Young. With us losing to Bryce Young, we were one game out of the wild card, but now had to play the other quarterback in our draft class, Anthony Richardson. And right away, we couldn't get Derrick Henry involved, so it was up to us, and we started off the game with a pass drop perfectly over top of the linebacker to Westbrook. But after Henry couldn't get it done on the ground again, we faked a field goal, and it was Agnew finishing off the drive with a touchdown. Our next timeout saw us using our legs like this 20-yard RPO pull read that got us inside the red zone, but it was our arm that got us done for us as we connected with Kyle Phillips. Our defense continued to make stops as Anthony Richardson led the Colts to 50 total yards so far in this game, while we were leading our 3rd touchdown drive with Kyle Phillips getting his 2nd on the day. And then with only a couple minutes left, we were able to do it again, scrambling out to the outside, diving in for our 4th before the half. But the 2nd is where it became very interesting as we got sacked with a safety to start the 3rd quarter, but next drive we connected with a Okonkwo on a great catch and run, but from it Derrick Henry couldn't get a 1st down and we just settled for a field goal. And then it went from interesting to bad as Derrick Henry went down with an injury, and the next play Sharp fumbled and our leading pass catcher Okonkwo went down with an injury. And then on the next drive Sharp went down with an injury. That saw Benny Snell, our 3rd running back, helping us limp to a victory on the day, getting us back up to 500. Being one game out of the wild card spot, we had to take down the team that we are tied with, Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. With our number 1 weapon Okonkwo officially being out for 3 weeks, it was our rookie tight end Wiley who had to step up for us, and with a great catch he did just that, but the drive didn't go anywhere and we settled for 3. So on the next drive we went right back to him for another grab and then pulled a read option to take this one all the way to the house to put the 1st touchdown on the board. But our receivers are still struggling, like this drop pass from Kyle Phillips, so we had to rely on broken plays like this one to Treylon Burks, but the field goal was missed. At this point in the game, Derrick Henry had 7 carries for 9 yards, so we had to get him involved in the pass game, but later in the drive we connected with Xavier Howard for an interception. We were able to chase him down, saving the touchdown from being scored, and with Mike White not doing much, we were able to turn around and get the ball back. First we hit Derrick Henry on a screenplay, and from there we were able to connect with Treylon Burks for a touchdown with 5 seconds left to extend our score going into halftime. And going into the 3rd, we got a chance to extend our lead once again, this time going right at Jalen Ramsey, and Wiley was able to walk his way into the end zone. Going into the 4th quarter, Derrick Henry only had 15 carries for 29 yards, so it was up to us to ice the game, and with a massive pull read that saw us running 40 yards down the field, leaving Jalen Ramsey in our dust, we walked away with a win and maybe a chance at the 7th seed. Now sitting at the 7th seed in the wild card, we needed to match up against CJ Stroud to keep ourselves alive in the playoff race. But it started out rough as Derrick Henry was injured on the first play of the game, so immediately the entire game got put on us, but our O-line is badly injured and we got caught with an intentional grounding. On the next drive, we were able to put it together, and it started with a Treylon Burks stop and go, and then from there our legs on the ground picking up another 1st down on a read option. And with Okonkwo out, the rookie Wiley was able to step up and make a good catch, but an even better run after to allow us to finish off the drive and run it into the end zone. And the rookie continued to impress. After a Texans turnover, we went on another drive and Wiley put us inside of the red zone, and with Benny Snell taking an 8-yard loss on a run, we had to go to the air, hitting Wiley for a touchdown, and it was booth reviewed, but it still stood. But from there, the Texans put up another score before the halftime to make it 14-14, and in the 3rd, we began struggling. So because of that, we had to get creative in the 2nd half, and that included Spears making a good catch out of the backfield and a crazy pitch play to Treylon Burks that was really not the best, but it worked for the 1st down. And it all climaxed on a bad play call on 4th down that ended our drive and let the Texans take the outstanding lead. And with the Texans continuing to have success and our team struggling to move the football down the field, we were hit as we threw an interception at Derek Stingley, dropping our first game against CJ Stroud. Tied now for the 7th seed, our spot in the playoffs became more unsure as we matched up against Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. Both offenses came out stagnant in our first drive, but Seattle was able to edge the score with a field goal. But to end the first, Seattle opened the drive by leaving Derrick Henry wide open and giving us the easiest touchdown of our rookie year as we watched him sprint down the sideline. As the defense let up another field goal, we got the ball back and hit Agnew on not one 3rd down, but 2 of them in a row. But on the next one, we connected with Derrick Henry to get us inside of the red zone. We tried to run in ourselves on the goal line but failed, but Agnew got open on a slant route and we jumped out to a 14-6 lead. We tried to put another score on the board before the half, driving all the way to midfield, but were stopped on a 4th and inches. We started the second half hitting Derrick Henry up the sideline for a good gain, but Jamal Adams jumped a corner route as we tried to go to the tight end and he returned it almost out to midfield. With Seattle grabbing another 3 more points, we got the ball back, but Jamal Adams quickly snagged his second interception of the game as we tried to dump it over his head and failed. So now we were playing from behind, but entering the 4th quarter, we just couldn't get things rolling. So back out on offense, we tried again, and I thought Traylon Burks had a step on the D-back, but Jamal Adams struck for a 3rd time in this game, and we watched as he juked us and extended the lead out to 8 points. And with us not being able to get it done and a 3rd down sack, Mike Vrabel trotted out the punt team and gave up our chance to win. Looking at the playoff picture now, we're 1 game out of the playoffs, and our last 2 games of the season are now must win if we want a chance. So it's time to play CJ Stroud and the Texans once again, and to open up the game, Derrick Henry got injured on the first play, his 2nd time this season this happening. At this rate, Derrick Henry's not going to hit 1,000 yards on the season and is only averaging a career low 3.4 yards per carry and has been battling injuries every single game. But after a long drive that included a fake field goal, we were able to get it done ourselves with a QB sneak. We messed up on the next drive as Derek Stingley jumped our pass down the sideline and we got picked off. On the 2-minute drive, we were able to do the exact opposite of what the Texans expected and ran down the field, and it was Okonkwo who was able to haul it in to break the 7-7 tie. And with a couple seconds left in the half, a Spears run gave us a chance to throw it deep to end the half, and we missed, but a roughing the passer penalty was called, and that should have gave us enough yards to get a field goal out of it, but our kicker missed. To start the second half, we opened with Spears getting a lot of carries and actually having a solid outing as our number 2 running back, but with Lyman getting injured and our drive ending because we just get sacked, but we still walked away with a field goal to make it a 4-point game. But with the Texans now scoring a touchdown, it means we needed to mount a comeback. Agnew started it out with a great catch down the sideline, but Will Anderson sacked us on a rollout, so the only thing we were able to manage was a field goal to tie the game. So now we had to break the tie, and it was on our shoulders as we scrambled out and were able to get upfield for a huge gain. And then Jamal Agnew was able to cross the field, burning Stingley to get us inside of the red zone, but as we tried to run it on a read option, we were stopped and only got another field goal. But thanks to our defense making a good stop on CJ Stroud for his 20th interception of the year, we ended week 17 with a win, heading into week 18 with our playoff dreams still alive. So it's the last game of the season, and it's a win and in situation for our team against our divisional rivals, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags struck first with Travis Etienne getting an 80-yard rush, so he had to return the favor, but scrambling out on 3rd down, we weren't able to get it done. And I thought it was going to be more of the same on the next drive as our left guard got bullied and we paid for it, but Okonkwo was able to keep the drive and bring us out to midfield. 2 plays later, it was us finding Okonkwo again to put us down on the 1-yard line, but the Jags defense stiffened up and it took a 4th down run to punch it in. But once again, we were going to have to finish the game without Okonkwo as he got injured when we went to him and he couldn't haul this one in. But we were able to get things rolling regardless as we scrambled out to the outside to push the ball up the field. But an incompletion ended that drive as we tried to go deep. With 2 minutes left in the first half, it got worse as Derrick Henry went down with an injury and our deep threat Jamal Agnew limped to the sideline just 3 plays later. So with no weapons and no offensive line, we had to run for our life once again and were able to get into scoring position, then hitting Phillips to extend our lead. The second half saw Spears getting his first major action of the game on a good 3rd down run, and then a pole read got us up the field, but Phillips got injured and we officially had 2 healthy receivers left on roster. This brought in Ryan Tannehill to play receiver and he got his first catch right away, and after a booth reviewed fumble, we hit him on the next play for his first receiving touchdown in the NFL. This was the wildest events that we could have imagined, and with 15 of our 25 players on our team missing some time this season, somehow we managed to beat the Jags and limp our way into the 7th seed of the playoffs. So here we are at our first ever playoff debut, and we're facing off against the juggernaut of the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. The game began with a great start from us as Westbrook was able to make a great catch and then Kyle Phillips was able to haul in another good grab. And it was all finished by Derrick Henry, who got a good run, and from there we tried to push in the pile to get him into the end zone, but it was a 4th down that finally did it. The next drive was us feeding Derrick Henry again, and he was answering. It got to the point where we were lining up in the I formation and daring the Chiefs to stop us. It got until the clock hit 3:40 in the second that we threw our first pass again, but all eyes were on Henry, and it was us who who ran it into the end zone to grow our lead. Ending the first half, Derrick Henry had 161 rushing yards, and we were looking good going into the second. And it did continue as into the third with Okonkwo bringing in a good catch and another good run from Henry. It was Okonkwo who was able to put us onto the goal line, but with a bad throw, we had to settle for a field goal. But with the Chiefs defense stiffening up, we had to improvise. It came from a screenplay that we were able to make work to Derrick Henry, and then an improvised rollout scramble that we got far down the field. Derrick Henry again was able to clutch up for a first down run, and a couple plays later, he was able to finish it off for his second touchdown of the game. With the game in our favor and the clock winding down, we tried to run out the clock, but were hit with not one, but two really bad holding calls, and that forced us to give the ball back to the Chiefs. And we know from past history that giving the ball back to the Chiefs late in games never works, and they were able to drive down the field and bring the game to overtime. But we won the toss and got the ball first, and we had the advantage in our hands, but we couldn't get anything going and had to punt the ball away. And from there, all we could do was sit on the sideline and watch the game slip out of our hand, ending our season. Looking back at it, the Titans were one of the worst teams coming into this season, and we struggled to get our feet under us and brought the Titans back to the playoffs and almost took down the Kansas City Chiefs. We were burdened with injuries as DeAndre Hopkins went down in week number 3 going to the IR, and Derrick Henry banged up almost every single week. But this isn't the end, it's just the beginning. And the question is now, do we run it back with the Titans, or do we already look for a new team?